We are going to do a basic weather app today. It's only going to use the app.jsx file. We're not going to have to worry about creating components or anything like that. We will add an image to it, so you'll see how an image works in React. We will be adding a weather API to access some data from, I think it's Open Weather, something like that. So you can see how an API gets called and used. Not that we do any of that after this part of it, but just something to see. So first thing we want to do is go to your desktop or wherever you want to create a folder. And I'm just going to call mine Weather App. Go on my Visual Studio Code, open my folder. Of course, bring your folder in. Once you do that, open a new terminal. What's the first thing we do once we open a new terminal? Yep, npm create vite at latest, and then name it whatever you want to name it. I'm just going to call mine weather app. I've noticed in the past is when we get into the final, we're going to have to load these into github.io. And if you name your main folder one thing and your application something else, sometimes it's a pain to try and get it to properly load, because we got to go in and set some JSON settings in that for it. So if you name your main folder and your app the same thing, it's going to make it a little bit easier on the final trying to get that loaded out on GitHub.io. So I've been doing that a little bit more lately as I've been creating some of these apps. So we'll hit enter. Gives us our choices of framework we want to use. Of course, we want to use React. And we want just JavaScript. If you're comfortable with TypeScript, you can use TypeScript. And then it always tells us what we need to do next. It should say done, now run. And then you have the CD weather app, so it's just telling you right there, CD into your weather app. npm install after that, and then npm run dev. So let's CD into our app. And now you can see we went from desktop weather app into our weather app. And then npm install. That seemed like it took a while. And then finally, when your install finishes running, you do npm run dev to get your server up and going. We can take a look at that. Hold Control, click on localhost. 5173. That should have your normal vite plus React on there. And now that we got that, everybody good with that?
No.
No?
Still loading.
Still loading?
My Discord won't open, actually.
Your Discord won't open?
Yeah, on my computer, yeah, on the desktop. It won't open.
What's it say?
I think I know that issue.
Does it do?
See that? I think I know what that issue is.
All right, so now that we got everything working, you checked to make sure your website was actually up and running. We'll open our weather app folder up. We're gonna go into source. We can see our index. If you want to change the title in here to weather app or whatever you want to call it, you're more than welcome to. Save that. Of course, main.jsx. We don't do anything in here. Index CSS, we can actually clear everything out of here if we want to. So Control A, Control A, delete. App.js X, we can clear we can clear everything out inside the return parentheses. We can get rid of the hook, the use state up top, and we can get rid of these logo. And we'll get rid of this app CSS. We're not actually going to use app CSS today. If you want your app CSS folder, you can actually, the file, you can just delete that if you want to. We're not going to use it.
We're using the JavaScript framework or variant.
Yes. Yep. By creating it with vite, it should automatically make it a JSX extensions for you. Everybody good with that? So the first thing we'll do, how do we want to do this? No, we're not going to, this is all going to be in the app.jsx today. So it's going to be a pretty simple one. We will need Axios, so let's go ahead and import Axios, AXIOS from AXIOS, Axios. We're going to have to install that since we don't actually have it, so you can open a new terminal, CD into your app again. And then do an npm, and you can do install or just an I if you want to. And then Axios, AXIOS. And then you can hit enter and it should install it for you without any issues, hopefully. And it doesn't take long to install it. npm I Axios, so there's a space. Here it is right here, this line here, if you look and see. npm I Axios.
Yeah, that install the API.
No, we don't have to install anything for the API. We're going to get a link for it and use the link. And so if you look in your node modules, if you want to, it doesn't matter. You should see an Axios folder in there now that we imported it. You can go look at your JSON package, and it should under dependencies. There's Axios now under your dependencies. So we brought Axios in to use. So what this Axios is going to do is, as we go look for these temperatures, it's going to send a request out to the server for the weather app and bring a response back to us. And it does an asynchronous HTTP request, so as you're still doing more activities on a web page, it can send the request or the request out there. It can bring the request back, the response back, and not interrupt any of your work on the website. If you do a synchronous request, your web page will freeze until that request and the response comes back. And so this handles all that for us nice and neat. We don't have to worry about anything. Our web page should keep running smoothly as we do all this stuff. And so now if we go back to app.jsx, we are going to
Mine's still red. I mean,
your Axios up top.
yeah.
Is that because it's declared but never used or something like that, or is it just a worded?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to end up writing a function to use it here in a little bit. So don't worry about it if it's angry at you. It's just we have it imported up here, and if it bothers you, you can take it off or comment it out so it's not angry, whatever you want to do. And so we're going to start out and we're going to make our parent div like we've been doing and give it a class name of app. And then inside of that, we're going to make another div, give it a class name of container. Inside there, we're going to make another div, give it a class name of top. And then right below that div we just created a top, we're going to create another div, give it a class name, and we'll call that bottom. So now we just have our parent div, we have a container div, and then we have two divs inside that container, one called top and one called bottom. So now we're going to put a little bit of placeholder stuff in here for the moment. Give me 1 second here. We have our top div. So we're just going to put some placeholders in here for the moment. We're going to create another div in here and give it a class name equals location. Class name location. We'll put a H1 in here. Or no, we'll do a paragraph. Paragraph. Just put Dallas in here for right now, something easy. Right below that div, we're going to add another div. Give it a class name of temp. Inside there, we'll put an H1. And then we'll put just something in there, 60, and we're going to put degrees in there. On your computer, the way you do the degree symbol is you hold the Alt key down, and on your number pad, do a 0176, let go, and it should put that little degree circle up there.
Alt what?
Alt 0176 on your keypad. Yeah, numpad.
That just goes back to
0176.
Yep, and hold the control key or the Alt key down while you're doing that, and then when you let go of the Alt key, it should pop up there. That work for everybody?
No. You said the Alt key?
Yep.
Back on the D-pad?
Hear anything? So we got that. The next one we will put in is under that temp div we just put in. We're going to put another div with the class name. And that's going to, we'll just call it DESC for description if you want to put description in there. We'll just call it description. DESCRIPTION description. And inside of there, we'll do another paragraph. And we'll just say 20% for now. I feel like I got a div sitting out here by itself for some reason. I think I do. Where's my bottom? That one there. All right. So now in the bottom div that we created, we're going to go inside that div. We're going to create another div. We'll give it a class name called Feels. Feels. We'll put a paragraph inside of there and say 65 degrees. So you'll have to do the Alt 0176 or whatever you did to get the upper one. You can probably copy and paste that upper one in there if you want to do that. Save a little bit of time and effort. Below that div named Fields, we're going to add another div with a class name equals humidity. Put a paragraph inside of there. Put that as 20%. And these numbers don't really mean anything. It's just, like I said, a space holder we're going to check here in a second and see what our page is setting up looking like. This description under the top where it says 20%, change that to cloudy for a better description of what we're doing. Alright, and then under that humidity div we just created, we're going to add one more div, give it a class name, and call it wind. And inside there we're going to put a paragraph and just say 12 miles per hour. Clean my divs up a little bit here. 1, 2, 3, 4, that looks right. You want to save that and go look at your page. Should see something that looks like that there. Everybody got that? Yep. Good, 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 good. You said nope. No, you should just be able to bring up the original one that you started out with. If not, you may want to kill any terminals you have running and start a new terminal. Pause it here for a second and go check on a couple. Has their info displaying. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go out and get this weather API that we're using. So we will go out to openweathermap.org. So openmap.org.
What's it called?
Openweathermap.org, and you should see something like this here. Everybody good? Click on the sign in link, and then you want to create an account for this. Just go ahead and use your Rankin email for it. They don't send you any emails or anything, thank goodness, but no reason to use a personal account in this since you probably won't ever use it again. So you can go to create account, put your info in, log into the page, everybody into it. Still here. A couple people. Okay, as I say, I still hear a couple people typing, so pause the video while everybody gets logged in. If we go to the API up here in this top menu, this API up here, click on that, and we're going to scroll down just a little bit to this current weather data. And we're going to click on subscribe to that. You scroll down and there should be some payment plans. Of course, being students and a teacher, we're all broke, so we're going to do the free one, get the API key, click on that. By clicking on that free get API key there.
Yeah, I think you just have to go to your account.
Yeah, so if you look at your account up in this top bar, you'll see your name probably appears somewhere. If you drop down and go look at my API keys and see if you have an API key in there. So you should have something that looks like this in there. Everybody have that? That key? Okay, good.
Copy it.
We will eventually, not right now, you don't have to. So let's go back to this API tab there, click on that, scroll back down to that current weather data, and click on that API doc that's next to the subscribe button there. We'll click on that. And if we scroll down, there's one, I guess maybe a little over halfway down the page, there's some built-in geocoding. You may see a headline like built-in geocoding, built-in API request by city name. That's what we want, is this first API call there. Everybody seeing that or finding it? All right, go ahead and copy that. We want to copy that. Who said that? Okay. What this is doing is this is just an API. It goes out to their website, goes and gets, this is the request it's making here. It's sending some parameters back in, this weather, question mark, Q, and then we're eventually going to put a city name in here just to test it out, and then we'll put a value in here to get it working. And then this app API, the app ID, I should say, we're going to paste our key in here eventually and use that key to get to hook up and run and everything like that. So when you do forms in a web page, we remember we had get and post, I believe, were the two that we use. When you do the one, you can actually see the parameters being passed through, so you always want to try and use post so you don't see the parameters being sent through. I believe it's post, and that way you don't see these parameters all getting passed through. This isn't a big deal because you're not passing any pertinent data, but if you're passing credit cards or people's phone numbers or email addresses, stuff that you want to keep kind of private, that's why you want to do it like that. So now we got that. We can comment this out for now so we don't have any issues with it. We're not going to be using it for a few more minutes. And actually, you want to switch the city name. You can put like Dallas in or whatever you want. You can copy this. Let's see if that API key makes an issue with it. Control C, go to our web page. Paste that in there. Yeah, so I need an API key in there. So we'll go ahead and put our API key in there and be done with it, and then we can use it. So if you go back to your openweathermap.org, go to that My API key, take that key and copy it, and then in your code, where this API key is here, you want to paste that in over the curly brackets. We don't need those curly brackets in there. So you can just put that in like that. And then if we copy and paste this, Control C.
What are you doing?
So go back to your Open Weather Map web page that you had open. Over here where it shows your account, your name or whatever you use to log in with. Go hit the drop down arrow and select My API keys. Highlight that key and copy it. And then you're going to go back to your code, and at the very end of your code where it says and APID, app ID, you're going to highlight the curly brackets and everything in them, and then paste it there. So you want to get rid of those curly brackets and just paste your key in there.
You have to, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking.
Yeah, to get the thing, since we're not actually using the what you call it. So copy that, Control C. You can go paste it in there, and you should see something like that. This is JSON. When you get more in Mr. Gummistead's class, you'll be using JSON a lot more. And you can see it has data in here. It has coordinations, it has a longitude, a latitude. Here's the weather. Main clouds for description, broken clouds, temperature here. It's in Kelvin, so it's going to look odd. 283 degrees outside. Woo! Feels like 282.
That's cold.
I wish the way. Is that cold or is that hot?
That's cold.
Is it?
That's only like. And it's on the chilly.
Yeah.
It's like
Below 0 in Celsius.
it's
How do you do that?
273.5 is 0.
Get the,
Looks like you have it. Oh, I was gonna say, looks like you have it up. Copy. Take
Like,
this URL we pasted in here,
Okay.
and where that Q equals, and we have Dallas, you can take the
Yeah.
curly brackets out and just have Dallas in there,
Okay.
and then copy and paste that in. It'll give you a JSON
yeah, do
printout there. So all that data, all that stuff that for the API is now in here. We'll end up using this eventually.
St. Louis won't work.
You can put St. Louis in, but sometimes it's picky if you don't capitalize it just right or whatnot. So,
Oh, so you do have to capitalize it?
no, I have lowercase Dallas in here and it works.
Do I have to like remove the period?
You may have to put the period. Let's try and run it real quick and see what happens.
You do capital S dot space capital L.
Yeah, you can do lowercase, but you have to have a space between the period and the Lewis, and I think that's what the big thing is.
Just type it like, okay.
Yeah.
Just do Saint, space.
Space Lewis, yeah. If you want to click on this pretty print, they have that pretty print checkbox up there. Click on that, and this is the way. A lot of times when you code out JSON in an application, this is the way you're going to do it, and it's going to look. And it usually returns this way, just so it's nice, a lot easier to read. So you can see here we have our coordinates, latitude and longitude, the weather, temperature, feels like temperature, air pressure, here's humidity. We're going to use some of these. Here's wind speed. So go back to our code. And I guess we can start styling some of this if we want to. Before we jump into the styling, let's take a few minute break. We'll take like a 7-minute break and come back at 9:30. And we'll go ahead and start styling some of this stuff. Go to index CSS. And I'm going to put an import statement into Discord if you want to grab that. There's a lot to it.
In Discord?
Yeah, in the chat. What's that? Yeah, in the text channels.
Like voice chat text, yeah?
No, just the
I see it, yeah.
Got it. So it's in the text channels in Discord under the AWD 1000. And all this is doing is importing a Google font called Outfit. There's just a lot to it, so I figured this would be easier to do it that way. So once you get that copied and pasted in there, we'll do an asterisk, Shift 8. We'll do box sizing, colon border, box, margin 0, padding 0. We'll do body, font family, outfit. Oops. Let's do GOUI. Botto. Next thing we'll do is a paragraph. We'll do font size 1.6 rem. You're more than welcome to play with these CSS settings if you want. Nothing's set in stone on these. H1's our next one. We'll do font size 6 rem.
What's REM do again? What language?
It's just the sizing of it.
Well, like, what's the difference between like ES and REM?
So REM means root element, and it's relative unit to CSS. It sets the element size based on the root element's font size.
So some like more default, you mean?
Yeah, the default font size is 16. 16 pixels. So if you want to convert a pixel value of px into a rem, you just divide the pixel value by 16. So 1.5 rem is like 24 pixels, so we're just a little over 24 pixels. Get back to my notes. So after the H1, we'll do an app class, so .app. And we'll do width 100%, height 100%. Or actually the height is going to be 100 VH for view. Height. Position is relative. Background color, we're going to do an RGBA 0, 0, 0. 0.4. And then our color is going to be pound FFF, which is white.
Is that supposed to be chroma?
Here,
No, RGBA.
yeah, I put a period there. Yep, sorry. I was wondering why it shifted on me all of a sudden. So then after that, we're going to do an app colon before. Content. It's just blank. Background. URL. And for this background URL, let me see if I can find my background here real quick, and I think I can paste it out in Discord and you guys can save it out of there. Desktop. Put the image in that chat again for Discord. I think you can save it other, can you not?
I think so.
Like I said,
Can we make like an images folder?
no, what we're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and you can copy that, and in source, there should be an assets folder.
Put it in there.
Yep, you'll just paste it in there.
Where's the picture?
It should be in Discord in the chat where I put the font family. Is it not showing up?
Yeah, did you try to paste like a link or something?
There. I got mine in there. You can right click, you can save image and then go save it in that assets file.
Assets.
Yeah, so you can go save image, you can go find your
On public.
yeah, it will be under source.
Source.
Yeah, technically is where it's at. So you can go to your app under source and there's assets and you can save it there.
Save. Assets. Save.
And once you do that, oh, it shouldn't be background URL, it should just be background. URL. We're gonna go up a directory since it's not in our CSS. We got to go up into the assets. We're gonna do assets / sunset .jpg. And we're gonna say
You have a typo, by the way.
I do.
It says at before, no we at the end.
Oh, thank you. And we'll say no repeat. Center, cover. Resolution absolute. Width 100%, height 100%. So if you save it at that point, you should see something like this now in your app.
No repeat center. What is that?
Center/cover. And then after that height, we're going to put top 0, left 0, and a Z index just to put it under some of the other information we're going to be putting on here. We haven't used Z index much. That Z index is how you can layer different properties in CSS. So if we had a positive one, the image would be on top and it would cover all of our stuff up. We're going to put a negative one to push it down a layer and be able to show our stuff. And then let's do our container. Oops, container. We'll do max width 700 pixels, height 700 pixels, margin auto, padding 0.1 rem, position is relative, top is 10%, display flex, flex direction is column, and justify content is space between. Good old flex box. You remember that fun stuff? After that, we'll do app dot description. Take the space out of there. And do position relative. Right. -90, and that's going to move it across the page. Lost my relative. You said that's going to move it across the page. Transform origin. 0, 0. Transform, rotate. We'll do 269 degrees. So our description is going to be cloudy, and if we go look at this again, go save our index CSS, see if everything's coming up. I need to put a space in there. There we go. So that app, the class app class description does need a space in between it. And so you can see it moves the cloudy to the side. has it sideways there. If you play with this degrees a little bit, you can see it kind of moves it around. 270 was too much. I don't think that's quite straight. It might be, but everybody good with that?
What is the screen supposed to look like?
The screen should look like, oh yeah, I'd head it off to the side. I guess that would help. So that's what your screen should look like.
Nope.
What you missing?
Picture.
I think he didn't reach all the way.
Oh, yes, is that what?
It didn't reach all the way.
Yeah,
From my, work for me all the way down.
right here.
On the bottom down there.
Yeah.
We're gonna add some more style, so we'll see if that helps bring it up. Here's the app. That there. Pause the video here and we'll take a look. Everybody's in a good spot now. So the next thing we'll do is we'll put an app bottom on here. So class app space dot bottom. And we'll do a display flex. Justify content, space evenly, text align is center, width 100%. Margin will be 1, rem auto. On the padding here we have 1R, 1 rem. Anybody know what that's going to do with just the one? Yep, all 4 sides. If we do 2 of them, like the margin above, it does 2 and 2. The border radius 12 pixels and background color. Another RGBA here, RGBA 255, 255, 255, 0.2. Save that. Now your stuff should be going across the bottom and have some values in there. Everybody's look like that? Still wonky, huh? Alright, let's take a look at what may be causing yours. So let's take a look at the container first. So we're going to get our data set up and working using our JSON that comes back from our request. So let's add a couple hooks for the use state up here. we'll do a constant. And what are these hooks? What kind of brackets do we need and why?
The square ones?
Yeah, they're technically arrays, so we use the square ones. I'll do data and set data. And we'll set our use state to just an empty object. And the empty object is parentheses and the curly brackets. And then we'll do another one. Constant square bracket, location, set location. And we're just going to set that to a use state of a blank text. Oops, semicolon. I got a band-aid on my pinky and I hate typing with band-aids on my finger. So of course they're mad at us. We don't have anything set up yet. We're gonna work on that. So first thing we'll do is we go down to location. And we're going to get rid of this Dallas here, and we're going to call data.location. And this data that we're looking at is going to come off our JSON. Put that in there earlier. What was it? This JSON here, so you can see we have, where'd it go? Somewhere. Oh, right here. So we're going to get this location here, even though it says name.
Mine just says Dallas, is that okay?
Yep, I changed it to St. Louis because we were testing something out. So that is fine. We'll do data.location.
Your thing is kind of swagging.
My thing is
Yeah,
on Discord.
yeah.
And then next thing we're going to do is for our temperature here, because of the way this JSON is set up, we want this temp, and the temp here is inside a main. So we're going to have to kind of step through it a little bit. So what we need to do for that is we are going to get rid of this H1 for the moment, and we'll put curly brackets, data.main, and say if data main is there, we'll put an H1 in there and call data.main.temp.
So you get rid of the F1.
You can keep that degree symbol F if you want, and we'll close this curly bracket, and then you can put it right after that curly bracket. Whoops. And then after the H1, you're going to put a colon and do a null. And so this is that ternary operator again. So it's saying if data main, if there's a data main, put an H1 in here and get the data main temp from it. If not, leave it null and nothing will show up. So that's why if you put a bad location or whatever in, nothing shows up because it checks for this data main and can't find a lot of it. So then we'll go down to description and we'll do the same thing. We can copy this line to save a little bit of time. Control C, we'll put it here, do Control V under description. And instead of data main, we'll say data.weather. Is that the one I want? Temp description, yeah, data.weather. And if we go back and look at our JSON, you can see weather is here and our description is here. But we're going to get the main part of it. Weather data.weather question mark instead of the H1, we're going to put a paragraph there. Close that paragraph. And then inside the curly brackets, we're going to do data.weather. Now we want the first element and dot main. And so like all these curly brackets, this data.weather stuff that we're putting in, all these, this all are coming from this JSON response we got back when we ran that URL earlier with the API that we got. So this is where we're grabbing all this stuff out of here. And you just got to make sure you're pulling the right stuff out of it. And so that's kind of how we're getting some of these names, if you're wondering about any of that. So we got temp, description, let's do the fields.
Is there going to be the degrees on
The fields will have a degree with it, yep. So if you want to go grab that line again under temp, we can throw that in there, copy that, paste it over our paragraph. We'll do data.main. We'll make this a paragraph though instead of the H1. Make this a paragraph. Close my paragraph. And we'll do data.main and we'll do fields underscore like, because if we go back and look at our JSON, here it is here, it's called fields like, and that's what we're grabbing there, data.main.fields like, data.main.temp for our temperature earlier. So if you ever want to go back and code more of this on, you could do like the temperature minimum, you could do the air pressure if you want to. You can grab all this stuff out you want and put in there. If you ever want to go update this and make it look a little more robust on however you want to do it. On this paragraph here, let's put a class name in and we'll call it bold. Our humidity, we'll get rid of that paragraph. And we'll do a curly bracket, data.main, question mark. We're going to put a paragraph in here called class name, bold again. And then inside our paragraph, we'll put our curly brackets. And say data.main.humidity. And after those curly brackets, we'll put a % sign to show what the % of the humidity is when we bring it back. colon null. And again, if you go back to this JSON, you see data.main.humidity, that's what we're getting there. And then finally we'll do wind. Do bracket data.wind paragraph class name equals bold. And then inside our paragraphs we'll do data.wind.speed. Close our paragraph. Colon null. And if you want to, after speed here, you can do miles per hour, or you can just leave it how it is. So let's go put in our bold class we just created. And we'll just say font weight 700. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and set up our search box so we can get what we need to search. So right under, if you go back to app.jsx, we have our return here, and then our first div is called app. Right under that, we're going to create another div with a class name equals search. And then we're going to put an input. This is going to be a search box. And I'm going to put this down below it just so it's a little bit clean, easier to read. So type type text. We're going to do value equals curly brackets location. You can see our data and our location are getting happy now since we're actually coding them. Under value, we'll do an on change. And that'll equal curly brackets event. Set location, arrow function set location. Event target value. Whoa. After that, we're going to do a placeholder. Placeholder, we'll just say enter location, or if you wanted to say enter city or whatever you wanted to say, feel free. So then we can do on key press, and you can see on key press is not happy. If you hover over it, it'll say on key press is appreciated, no longer gets used. They say use on key up or on key down, so we'll use on key down. And on key down we'll put curly brackets search location, and that's going to be a method we're going to create here in a minute to search our location. After search location, put a slash.
My key down is white instead of blue.
You have on key down
Yeah,
and capital K, capital D.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I got it.
Okay. All right. So we have a class named search. Let's go put our style in for search real quick so we don't forget. So we'll go index dot search. So we'll do dot app dot search. We'll do text align center, padding 1 rem. And then we'll do app input and do padding 0.7 rem 1.5 rem. Font size 1.2 rem. Border radius 25 pix. Border 1 pixel. RGBA 255, 0.8. And then background RGBA 255, 0.1, and then color F8, F8, F8. And then one last thing we'll do is we had that placeholder, and so we'll do colon placeholder reason we're using that colon is to get inside our input. Get inside our input and access this placeholder.
Can I see the JS? Let me CSS.
Yep. And then for our placeholder, we're just going to do color. And again, it's just going to be pound F8, F8, F8.
Are there supposed to be 2 columns? I mean,
2 colons, yes. Yep.
What is that? What's F8 like specific? I'm sorry. Specifically,
What?
what is like? What's the difference between like F8, 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 and just the code for white, like FFF? You know?
You can put white in. It's
Oh, okay. They look the same.
yeah, it's close. That's a lot of these hexadecimal colors are like so close on a lot of them. You good over there, LeVay?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, no, can I, well, I mean, can I see the, app?
FJSX, there's the div we added and the input there. So if you take a look at your page,
So you see, the bottom, humidity.
the humidity, I'm missing some stuff. Maybe it's because of that.
Something got broken.
Yeah, and I think it's because a search location isn't working yet. So we'll put search location in next and we'll see if that gets it up and looking good. Let me know when you're ready, LeVay. Good with that?
No, I'm still typing it.
So now our pages are pretty much unhappy because the search location is sitting in here causing a problem. So we'll go ahead and code for that. So this URL we commented out earlier, we can uncomment that. And then we're going to create a function called constant search location and event will cause issues. It's supposed to be depreciated, and so you see event is depreciated. We used it down here and it didn't give us a real problem with it, but I found that if you put it in a parenthesis as a parameter, it should still accept it and not cause an issue. And so we're going to do an if statement inside this function that we're creating and say if event.key equals enter. Since we're not going to have a button on here technically. And then now we're going to use that Axios here, AXIOS, Axios.get URL. dot then response. It's going to be an arrow function for that. Set data. And we want response data. And then let's just throw a console.log in here. And we'll put response data in there. I'm missing. So, parenthesis there, I believe. That goes with that. URL response data. If event key enter. So under this unhappy parenthesis there, let's do a set location. And we're going to set it to blank, and that way it'll reset it each time. What did I do up here that it's not happy? Search location event. If event.key is equal to enter, access.get URL, then response. Oh, I know what I did. After then, I need an extra parenthesis, so it should be then parenthesis, parenthesis, response should be in the opening parenthesis. So I had to put an extra parenthesis in there, and then I close it right after there. Bless you. And then Axios isn't happy. We commented it out earlier, so we can uncomment it, bring the import in. It should be happy.
If you move to the parentheses again,
So on the if statement here, or actually the Axios.get, URL should be in a parenthesis, dot then, and right after then you should have two parentheses. I only had one.
Is .get more encrypted?
Is what?
Post? Does get encrypt the URL versus post?
Get is just returning it is all that's doing. It's sending it out, yeah, exactly like it is. So you should be able to see it if you run it. I don't know how it'll look on our webpage. We'll try it here in a second and see if we can see. Did you? So if we save that, we should be able to, our page should come up now since we got rid of the angry parts. If we type in St. Louis, so now we get some temperatures, we get some information. Somehow I got some Fahrenheit behind my clouds. Everybody getting a temperature and all that? No, you're not? No.
You put it in St. Louis?
I did type in St. Louis, yeah.
I have a different yours.
A different temperature?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why does it say 267?
It's Kelvin is what it actually is. We're going to fix it here and get it to show what we need it to show. Yeah, where do you need to look at? It's set location, but our function call is called search location.
set location?
The function should stay as search location. Your hook and your use state should be set location.
Yeah. Mine does that.
So give me 1 second. I'm going to change something here and I'll come take a look at it. So because we use these single ticks up here for the string interpolation,
Oh, I got it working.
you get it working? We're going to change this now and use $ where we had Dallas or St. Louis or whatever city name is or whatever you had in that URL. Wherever you see that Q equals, we're going to put $ curly bracket in there and put location. And that way it's going to use whatever location we type in there, that's going to find it and use our location. And then right after location, we're going to put an and symbol in there. So Shift 7, type in units, equal, and then we'll put an imperial. So here's that Q equals $ location and units equals imperial. Don't put any spaces in between that stuff. That's how it's going to get passed back through. If you put spaces, it won't recognize it. Save that. And if we enter a location, I'll put Denver in. Did it not update?
I still can't see like
The bottom part? Alright, we'll take a look at that here soon.
like that white bottom.
So mine is not updating. Let me kill my server or my terminal.
I think the image might be too not high enough. I don't know.
And you can change that around in your style if you want to. If not, we'll take a look at it here in a second. So let me kill my terminals. Mine doesn't seem to be updating. That's why I'm killing my terminal. New terminal. A CD in the weather app. Dev. So now let's type in, I'll type in St. Louis. So there, St. Louis, it looks like it's 21.65 degrees. With the wind chill, it's 9.05 degrees. Let's take a look at some of the issues people are having.